a disclaimer because I don't want to get treated like Chris Rock up here for a bad joke now, all right? So let's have a little bit of fun teaching you the history of San Antonio, but before we do, a couple rules. Please remain seated at all times. Keep your hands inside the boat at all times. No vaping, no smoking of any kind. Thank you to our military, first responders, police, teachers, nurses, frontline workers, and doctors. Thank you guys for what you do. Absolutely. Clap it up, hootie for it, do whatever you gotta do. And two more rules, guys. That's pretty simple. The next rule on this boat is a pet peeve of mine, though, when it comes down to any talking or conversations on board. I don't mind if you have conversations, but keep them low. There's a lot of you. It's kind of like a movie theater, so please just be respectful to those around you trying to listen. Pretty simple, pretty fair. Also, no cell phone calls, no FaceTime. That interrupts my radio from time to time. And finally, my number one rule on the boat, this is the most important rule on this boat. If you happen to fall out of my boat tonight, ooh, you guys are real quiet now. Okay. Do me a favor. It's been a long day for us boat captains. The water's 4 feet deep. For the love of God, stand up and walk out. That would be perfect for me. If you caught the sarcasm, you're in for a heck of a trip. If you didn't, you're in for a long trip. Again, guys, my name's KD. Welcome to San Antonio. Let's start right here. You're kind of just floating around here in the Artisan River Theater. On the left-hand side, if you go up these staircases through the corridor, it'll take you to the Shops of La Bahita, which is a bunch of vendors selling stuff throughout the weekend. On the right-hand side, this stage now may look familiar to you movie buffs. You might have seen this in the movie Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock. The 5 bells behind that stage represent the 5 missions in our town. In the part of the movie, if you're wondering, from Miss Congeniality, it was the part of the movie when they were interviewing the contestants. They'd come across the stage here, and then William Shatner would be right there interviewing the contestants. We use this for a lot of performance around springtime, and there was a legendary group that comes down here every year from spring to the second weekend of August called Fiesta Noche del Rio. They're always down here performing. Coming up on the right, you're going to see some beautiful waterfalls, and behind those waterfalls starts the Briscoe Western Arts Museum. The Briscoe opened up in 2013. If you're a fan of museums, this is a great little location to duck away from the heat during the day. It's about an hour and a half to walk through. You have things such as General Santa Anna's ceremonial sword from the Mexican Army in there. You have some things from the Alamo, and a really nice artistry wing. Now, behind the statue of the Vaquero on the right-hand side, the cowboy wrangling up some longhorn is still the Briscoe. But this portion of the library was our public, this portion of the building was our public library in the 1930s. Then in 1968, they switched it over to be a circus museum. I tell you guys all that because San Antonio don't like to get rid of anything. They like to reuse, renovate, and refurbish. You'll hear that a lot on this cruise. Now watch your hands as we go underneath this bridge here, guys. This is the Presa Street Bridge. This is a cast iron steel bridge built in 1890. And what's really unique is all the parts you're about to see that built this bridge. All these parts came all the way in from Berlin. Berlin, Connecticut, to be exact. Wah, wah, wah. Got him. I saw you staring me down, sir. I saw that right there. I saw you. Coming up on the right-hand side, the beautiful Hotel Contessa. And it'll run right into Marriage Island coming up. Yes, this is a little island on my right. Right where those big old tree is all lighted up. Been married there twice, everybody. Yeah. Let's see if it works out for me. Now we're going underneath the Navarro Street Bridge. This used to be called the Old Mill Street Crossing, the lowest point of the river in the 1800s. Made it easy to travel from one end of the city to the other through here because it was very low water. You'd have stagecoaches, horses, you could cross by foot sometimes. Even the likes of Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Rider crew used to come through here before they go to the Manger Hotel to recruit. Now you cannot see the Manger from here. That's behind us next to the Alamo in the middle of the city. But the Manger Hotel is your most haunted hotel in the state. San Antonio currently has 5 haunted hotels. Is yours on the list? The Manger, the Gunther, the Emily Morgan, the Davy Crockett, and the Holiday Inn Express, which was actually our jail in the 1800s, located off of Houston Street for a very long time. Now, if you look to my left, beautiful building on my left, the Tower Life building, built in 1929. If you look off the side, you're going to see some gargoyles kind of jumping off those edges. 2 gentlemen from Germany built this building for roughly $3 million in 1929, and they put about 18 gargoyles all over the building at the top there. And they're just like you would see in a movie. You know when it rains and you see pictures of gargoyles with the water coming out? Those are the same thing at the top. But these guys were very superstitious. Not only did they put gargoyles in the building, but if you look back toward me real quick, look just above these trees underneath this ledge of windows, you're going to see pairs of ugly stone faces underneath the ledge there. These are called grotesque. They were meant to fend off evil spirits and bad business. And if you look at this one at the top of the staircase, that's the one I really want y'all to look at, right here. Look at the one on the right here, closest to the corner, right there. If you look really closely at that, you'll see that looks like my mother-in-law, right there. I kid. It's actually this one on the corner. Either one of them look nasty, so thank you, sir. Thank you for that memory. Appreciate it. This reminds me every day. So now, these were put there to fend off those evil spirits and bad business, but in 1929, the stock market crashed and the Great Depression hit. The gentleman lost that building for pennies on the dollar. So apparently, they didn't even get 10% back for the building. If you look back toward me, a great shot of the Tower Light building. Check that out. If you look closely at it, it was built to resemble a battleship. That lower triangular piece is your deck as the tower sets back. It's now going to become luxury apartments. It was law offices for a very long time. Even Dwight Eisenhower, our president, at one time had offices up there. Oh, you guys remember the movie Ghostbusters, right? Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't from that movie. It's from another movie called Citizen Kane, though, by Orson Welles back in the day. For your younger generation, you will have to Google that, all right? We're just going to honk right here. Don't be alarmed. We're going to leave 5 feet of water, and we're going to head into about 16 feet deep coming up. Yeah, there's no punchline there. I saw your face. No punchline here. This was built in late 1921, our flood channel, because in early 1921, we had a major flood rip through this city, placing about 30 feet of water on top of all our streets in the downtown area, and taking the lives of about 50 people. Millions of dollars in damage, though, killed the city. They didn't think they're going to be able to rebuild the city or the Riverwalk. They wanted to pave it in, but that would have killed all our tourism. So they came up with an idea to build this flood channel from roughly 1921 to 1924, a little help from the Army Corps of Engineers and Robert Hugman, the architect of the river. On a lighter note, we are going underneath the love locks now. When we come out from underneath this bridge, look back toward me. On top of the De La Rosa Street Bridge, you'll see a chain link fence with some locks on it, possibly. If you don't, this is where they all used to be, and this is just like in Paris, France. It was way too much weight, so they had to move them. Some of the poles are starting to break. The sidewalks started to dip, so now they're trying to do some renovating on that, and they moved them back on De La Rosa Street. Now, the story is when people are in love, they come down, take a lock it, write their name and date on the back, and then they'll throw the key in the water to moment for that. There you go. Now, for those of you who didn't, apparently you're afraid of commitment, and that's quite okay. Now, the Riverwalk itself, somebody asked me, Captain, how long is the Riverwalk? Well, it's over 24 miles long throughout the city. You guys are only on about 2 miles. That's a little Texas tidbit for you. The state of Texas brings in for the United States. We are the second largest behind California, of course. California generates a little bit more. I think that's before Elon Musk moved here, so we'll find out. If you look in front of us, this tree, this is the oldest and tallest cypress tree on the water. It was 675 years old and 9.5 stories tall. Now, I had a gentleman on the last boat ride ask me, Captain, are all these trees, believe it or not, they're all original. The large trees you see were built around throughout such a small area. Now, the river's dominated by cypress trees. That's what that was, and that's what you see on the river mostly. About 90% of the river is cypress. We do have palm trees, we have a few pine. We used to have about 222 fruit trees up and down an 8-mile stretch, but during the bad freeze we had a couple years ago, 96% of those plants were killed. We don't have very many left. After this construction on my right, a very interesting story, the Esquire Tavern. This is the first bar to open after the Prohibition ended in 1933. Inside it has one of the largest beer-soaked bars in Texas of 109 feet long. And it was a barber shop during the Prohibition days, by day. At night, when it closed at 12 o'clock, it would reopen at 12:01 and be a speakeasy. They used to deliver alcohol through hidden tunnels that are still in existence throughout the city still to this day. They run for miles, about 20 feet tall and 20 feet wide. Again, the Esquire Tavern's a really unique location to check out if you're on this side of the river later, or this weekend. Directly in front of us, you'll see. Now the Aztec Theater, once we pull up here, behind this blue boat to my right, the Aztec Theater is a former silent movie theater built in the 1920s. It was one of those luxurious locations you could come and watch Charlie Chaplin movies, stuff like that. Rudolph Valentino. And now it's more of a concert hall. And it's also had some great concerts in there from the likes of Dave Chappelle, George Carlin, George Strait, Selena, and many others. The Aztec Theater. And speaking of Selena, directly in front of us, the bridge was featured in the movie Scene Bridge. Kicked off J-Lo's career, of course. And now, if you don't know who Selena is, though, how dare you? That is sacrilegious in this town. Selena, legendary Tejano star who was on the verge of pop dominance until she was tragically taken from us way too soon at the age of 23 by the head of her management company out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Little information about Selena's assailant. She'll be released in 13 months. It's already been 20 plus years. I had a gentleman on this boat about 3 months ago that is a guard at the prison where the lady that took Selena's life resides. And she should have been there for about 35 years, but she's getting out on good behavior about 26 years. She got 9 years trimmed off her sentence. I see some of y'all's faces. I agree. Now on the left-hand side, my left, you'll see an interesting Spanish-style hotel here called the Omni Hotels, better known as Ramoncillon Hotels of 1968.